Chicago's Festival of African Art.
Next on Black Nouveau.
Good evening and welcome to Black Nouveau. I'm Milton Dockery.
And I'm Faith Colas. We're glad you could join us. On this edition, we'll review Chicago's recent Festival of African Art.
George Foreman will remind us of the importance of fathers in the lives of their children. And we'll hear from a rising young local poet.
But first, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. African American women are more likely to die from the disease than any other group. Part of the reason for that is because we don't get tested. Until recently, I was part of that group. It could be a lack of health care, believing the generational myths about mammograms, or in my case, fear, but far too many women choose to not get mammograms. Recently, at the age of 47, I had my first mammogram at Columbia St. Mary's.
Good morning, Faith.
Good morning.
My name is Nancy, and I'll be taking care of you today.
Hi, Nancy.
I'd like you to come right over here into one of the dressing rooms.
Okay.
Put this robe on, opens in the front. When you're done, put your clothes in one of the lockers and just have a seat. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Carla Harris is a breast health clinician.
Here at Columbia St. Mary's, we use digital mammography in most of our facilities, and actually a woman is usually in and out in about 15 minutes.
I was ready to answer questions about my personal and family's health history.
Family health history is important. Studies have shown that there is a link to being in a higher risk category for breast cancer. If your immediate family, a mother, sister, or aunt, has had breast cancer, or even a daughter, breast or ovarian cancer. African American people, we don't always know our family history. Sometimes it's a little hush-hush about why grandma died. But you also have to put this in perspective that 70 to 80% of the time, women with breast cancer have no family history.
Do you have any family history of breast or ovarian cancer?
Yes.
Faith, I'd like to explain the exam to you. I'm going to take anywhere from 4 to 6 images. Okay? I won't know that until after the first. They are all routine images. Okay? What I'm going to have you do, let's say my fist is your breast. I'm going to put your breast here. This is called a compression paddle. It's going to come down like this and compress your breast. It's going to feel tight, a little uncomfortable, but as soon as the picture is over, it automatically rises. Okay?
Okay.
Are you ready to go?
I'm ready to go.
Okay. Turn your feet nice and straight.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to come from this side and just relax. Okay, I'm going to come underneath your breast. And this is my compression again.
Okay.
How are you doing?
I'm okay.
Okay. It's going to be a little tight, just like that.
It's a little tight.
Stop breathing, Faith. And relax.
There are several myths that keep women from getting mammograms. I believe that mammograms were accompanied by extreme pain to the breast. That is not true. A very small amount of pressure is felt for less than 20 seconds. Carla Harris dispels some of the other myths that keep women like me from getting mammograms.
Another myth is, because I have no symptoms, I have no breast cancer. And the truth is that many times breast cancer really is symptom-free for a little while until it's more advanced. Another myth is that breast cancer is always fatal, and that's not true, Faith. We have many, many survivors. My mom is a 20-year survivor.
I returned to Columbia St. Mary's within a 48-hour period to receive the results from Dr. Cynthia Rice.
I've reviewed your mammogram, which is your baseline exam, and I see no problems. At this point, I would recommend that you have a repeat screening mammogram in 1 year and on a yearly basis from now on. And it's also important that you do a monthly self-breast exam and see a physician or nurse practitioner on a yearly basis for a clinical breast exam.
I've continued to be tested every year since that video was made. Joining me To discuss breast cancer among African Americans is Phyllis Holder, president of the Sisters Network in Milwaukee. Welcome, Phyllis.
Thank you, Faith.
Tell me a little bit about Sisters Network. What do you do?
Faith, the Sisters Network is a national organization that was founded in 1994 by a breast cancer survivor, an African-American woman in Houston, Texas. And after she was diagnosed, she discovered that the help that she received wasn't specific enough for her, and that she wanted to do something about that. And there are issues that are different for African Americans facing breast cancer than the general population. And so what she did was to establish the Sisters Network, and we're a survivorship organization that's multifold in purpose, but the main thing is to provide that sisterhood, that conversation, that dialogue after diagnosis for those who have been diagnosed and their friends and families, so that we can discuss what our hindsight is, so that our hindsight can be their foresight. You know, say even if it's a change in the texture and color of fingernails after a certain chemotherapy. Sometimes our fingernails, Faith, turn black and get very, very fragile and fall off. And white women, perhaps that doesn't happen to. And so we were the ones to tell each other, you know, look out for this and use this product to relieve some of the, you know, the discomfort for some of the side effects of certain treatments that we have to go through, you know, as individuals who are faced with life-threatening disease. So that's one part of what the Sisters Network does, to support one another. And the other thing that we do is to educate the community. Breast cancer in African American women isn't the same as it is for the general population. Here in the state, perhaps 3,700 women will be diagnosed this year with breast cancer. And so that's the state. And so then let's shrink it into Milwaukee. The percentage of women in the city of Milwaukee who will be diagnosed with breast cancer, there will be a higher number of white women diagnosed, but a higher number of African American women will die.
And why is that? Is that because of the fear, possibly, that African American women have to get mammograms?
Well, as the Sisters Network, as we try to address those disparities, we try to look at all the issues. It's multifaceted. It could be fear, you know, in doing the screenings. It could be socioeconomic. I mean, there are many reasons that sometimes we're diagnosed with a more aggressive form of breast cancer and at a later state. And you know that treatment is much easier and much more successful if you're diagnosed early.
That probably has a lot to do with not getting a mammogram. And we only have a couple minutes, so there's a couple things I really want to focus on. I notice you're not wearing pink. Why no pink?
We're, Faith, trying to go beyond pink. And that is a catchphrase for the Wisconsin Breast Cancer Coalition, beyond the pink ribbon. And as a whole, all of the initiatives across the nation are pointing to a deadline. We want to spark interest in, you know, reviving the interest in finding a cure. You know, pink is fluffy, it's nice, it's gotten us a lot of attention. We've done well to wear pink and to support breast cancer through the funds raised by wearing pink. But we need to find a cure, we need to find a vaccine, we need to find out why African American women die from aggressive breast cancer more than any other group. So the research needs to be, monies need to be put into research, and it needs to be channeled into more purposeful use, and that it is, but pink isn't the action we need now. We need to find a cure.
Okay. In our last 30 seconds, you have an event coming up. How can people find out more information about that event?
Oh, Faith, we're having our Gift for Life block walk, the 4th annual walk that isn't a walk, because we go door to door to get the word out about the disparities, in breast cancer and how to get free mammograms and other screenings, such as clinical breast exams. And we go door to door, so it's the walk that's not the walk. And it'll be at the Martin Luther King Center, October 15th from 10 to 3. You can register at sisters4cure.org, sisters4cure.org.
Thank you so much, Phyllis, for joining us.
Thank you.
The calling of the drums to the 22nd Annual African Festival of the Arts in Chicago.
I love the area, I love the atmosphere.
It's a great place to be this time of year.
Annually on Labor Day weekend in Washington Park on the south side of Chicago, an African village appears and African cultures and traditions are shared.
It's a great gathering for African arts, and you have the African diaspora in one place. You've got people from Africa, people from the United States, people from the Caribbean area.
There's such an array of artists from all over the country. People come, and the atmosphere is just very open, welcoming, and it feels like a village. So I enjoy it. When people come in the morning, everybody's, welcoming you, and I'm not gonna try and do the lingo, but hello, good morning, sister, how you doing? It's always so refreshing. It's like a homecoming.
This homecoming draws visitors and over 300 vendors from all over the Caribbean, Africa, as well as the U.S.
We have not only art from the standpoint of painting, but sculpture. We have people that are making jewelry on the ground. When you talk about people that are making things, we have a drum village. We have several master drummers out there. They'll be drumming most of the day. Not only do they do drumming, they teach people how to drum. They have an African Heritage Pavilion, which really looks at African culture and the diaspora from a different perspective in terms of what's happened historically and what's happened moving forward. We have a magnificent food court. Any African dish or Caribbean dish that you could imagine will be there. We have a group that's been with us that comes here from the Washington, D.C. area that does Chinese food. And they've been successful. They come out here every year.
There's a bringing of unity of different countries, different cultures, unity of people, and you really find out that despite the geographical location where people emanate from, then there are actually a lot of similarities.
Ancient African nations served as an educational tool as well as a guide to the different areas of the festival. There was Timbuktu, African fashions and fabrics.
Hi. My name is Sabrina, and my mommy name is Ida, and that's her right there.
Songhai, arts and craft. And Kush, wearable art. Nubia was the fine arts area where the featured artist of the festival, Dana Lenore Easter's work was displayed. She's been with the festival since its inception.
This piece sort of is a self-portrait, but it encompasses the years that I've been here at the festival. On the body of the piece, there are pieces of found objects from all over the festival. There's artwork on there from other artists who are no longer with us. The cloth that I designed is, I'm a hand-painted fiber textile artist, so the cloth also encompasses the whole history of the festival. If you look closely, they have pieces on there that talk about our ancestors who are no longer with us, who started with the festival. People have no idea the nights, the time that we spend in producing this work, so we hope that when they take it home, that they feel the love that has created and gone into the work.
It's one of my pieces I did for Capital Jazz. It's called Soul for My Horns.
These artists shine in this marketplace for their art.
These are ceramic sculptures, make everything out of clay. I have a tribal theme, so I coined the phrase some years ago, African Nouveau. And because I've always been intrigued with what they were doing in the 18th century with that whole French Nouveau period.
And instead of using a pencil to sketch, I pick up a long strand of wire and needle nose pliers and just shape it in the image of a sketch I see in my head.
My work is called abstract figuratism. I'm from Trinidad, so you see a lot of liveliness, a lot of the Caribbean feel, a lot of color in my pieces and all my work. So it's called, basically I call it feel-good art. From my experiences, one of the great things that I've really got a lot of good vibes from is from families bringing their children and letting their children see what it's like to come to a festival like this, and they're bringing them year after year and after year, and eventually the children start asking to come to the show. I have a young man, he was 9 years old, and he saved his money from the year before to come and buy a piece from me. So that was the highlight of me showing in Chicago, all the years.
The festival's theme for this year was Moving Forward, a reminder to African Americans not to forget where they've been, with much yet to be accomplished.
I'd like people to walk away from here understanding a better part of their history moving forward, feeling a better connectedness to the continent from which they come, and also feeling empowered to go forward and doing greater work moving forward.
I'm visiting here from Seattle, Washington. My home is Gary. This is a wonderful, incredible festival. This is a great spiritual, creative energy. Blessings to all of you.
His real name is Elijah Renji, but he performs under the name Genesis. He's going to perform for us, and then our own poet, Bobby Drake, will interview the 19-year-old Milwaukeean.
Dear Superman, I never knew you could be weak. I always saw you as invincible. When Mama should have named me Shadow, I used to follow you everywhere. No wonder your name is Moses. Actually, she should have named me Aaron. I wanted to be just like you. A rebel without a cause, the cousin who never paused to bit his tongue because you hated the taste of your own blood. And I remember the first time I saw Superman bleed. Sleepovers and finger pricks got me wondering, why is he shanking his fingertips? Your Clark Kent pin shouldn't be able to penetrate your skin. Insulin needles in your stomach remind me of samurai committing suicide. DC Comics never told me that Superman practiced daily rituals. They never told me that diabetes was green and you had the first type of kryptonite. I never knew there were twins. I just figured one was enough to be on the brink of killing you. Learning this through turning the pages that illustrated you struggling daily. Keep your blood sugar higher than 80, but lower than 180. Or convulse in the DKA. I'm sick of seeing my superhero in hospital beds. You went from man of steel to doctor's voodoo dolls. Needles and pricks, pricks and needles. Needles from pricks, pricks with needles don't stick 'em. I remember the first time I saw Superman bleed, and this was in comics. Comics are just illustrated imaginative past, so cousin, can I rewrite your history? Maybe that's why I first started drawing comics. Because if I became ill enough with that pencil, I could erase away your problems, etch-a-sketching your medical threatenings, occasionally shaking up your world that you hated reading about in these comics. Grew up in love with gang violence because you were always bleeding. But I could have sworn Superman had sworn a GD, and so how come I'm seeing more red from you than Lil Wayne do? Sue wooing from the stomach, tattooed wounds on your stomach, an enlarged liver from an overdose of insulin. I remember when you passed out from a lack of food in your stomach. Walmart parking lot, excessive June heat makes you remove what's in your stomach. When in the hell did Superman get sick? I wanted it because you had it. Because even when you were sick, I still put you higher than heaven's attic. I wanted it because you had it. So we could be samurais together. So give me that insulin needle. I would go bonsai before you. As a matter of fact, I would check my blood for you just so I could see you hit them skies one more time. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's my Superman off to fight Lex Diabetes Luthor again. I wanted it because you had it. You still do. Together we'll bleed under needles, but we'll always be bulletproof. I want it because you have it. I still hate it when you bleed. So let's put up the peace sign of diabetes. Sincerely, Bruce Wayne.
It's a bird, it's a plane,
it's
for Superman. So tell me why you decided to write that piece about diabetes.
Well, family is a big part of my life, and my cousin who I looked up to got me started writing in general, and it was writing rap. We weren't allowed to listen to rap, so whenever we went to his house, he was always sneaking us some rap. But he has diabetes, and growing up, I never really understood why he always had to, take all the insulin shots and stuff. And I realized that he was the only one really doing it, well, in public around me and my brothers.
Right.
So I felt he's kind of alone to the wayside. So I was like,
So you
this is the guy I look up to.
Right.
Yeah.
And have you, has he heard that piece?
Yeah, he has. When I finished it, I actually called him, and he was the first person to hear it.
What did he say?
He's like, oh, man, that's touching, cuz I really appreciate it. I kind of need to hear that right now. So, yeah, he hasn't seen me perform it yet, but I really want to see a performance, though.
Okay, all right. And speaking of performing, how long have you been performing? You look real comfortable here on the screen.
It's my best friend. I've been performing, how old am I, 19? 7 years?
You're 19?
Yeah, 19.
And you've been performing how long again?
7 years.
7 years. Who got you started?
Nicole Jansen, Darling Nikki.
Darling Nikki,
yeah.
Awesome.
7th grade English teacher at Westside Academy.
Okay.
Yeah, so she did a poem called Kalisha Brown.
Yeah.
I heard it and I was like, oh, wow, I gotta start doing this. This is moving.
And so for the past 7 years you've been performing. I know you've been with Dasha Kelly in the Voltage series. Yeah. Where do you plan on taking it?
My goal, all around great artists. I mean, every kid has that huge dream to be something. I wouldn't mind being a hip hop mogul. That's my big dream.
You wouldn't mind?
I wouldn't mind. That's what I'm shooting. No, I wouldn't mind.
Just a little thing.
Just a little thing, you know.
Okay.
What's 50 grand to me, you know?
Well,
the little things, but you know, the realistic part is just to become a traveling artist, really. A traveling artist that gets paid doing what I love to do.
And are you doing anything that you can get paid off soon?
Yeah, actually doing a show called The Willing. It's going to be a hip-hop, spoken word, kind of gospel performance because it is going to be done within a church circuit. But it's free and open to the public. It'll be at All People's Church, 2600 North 2nd and Clark Street.
When?
6 to 8 p.m. on October 22nd.
October 22nd.
Yep.
Well, Genesis, I want to thank you for coming through, and I appreciate your piece and your art.
This weekend, the Milwaukee Fatherhood Initiative sponsors the 6th Annual Fatherhood Summit. Black Nouveau has been a presence at the event since its beginning. 2 years ago, we interviewed the keynote speaker, a heavyweight boxing champion and Olympic gold medalist with 10 children, 5 of them named George.
They didn't like my style because I close my eyes and somebody get close. And I look up, they be on the floor. And I dance and tell them how I do it again.
Foreman talked about his boxing career and shared his personal life with the hundreds of dads at the summit. He didn't pull any punches when talking about his family.
Started off as a little boy, and I'd walk the street with my buddies. We were a bad group of guys. I'd fight and argue and rob people and everything. But there was a little pride that goes along with it. And occasionally, as we'd be walking, my gangster buddies and I, we see this guy lying in the ditch, drunk, in the mud. And the guy said, man, look at that bum down there. And I said, yeah, sure is. Then I'd get away from my buddies, get closer to home, or get to where I was going. Then I'd go back and rush and get that bum out of the ditch because that was my dad. And I had to rush him and take him home quick. Get him home quick before people realize that's George's dad, huh? So I had to hide that along with it. But there's more to that. Occasionally, my dad would feel good and have a couple of drinks. I'd be watching a baseball game somewhere, and I'd walk around. He'd put his hand on my head, and he'd always say, George Foreman, next heavyweight champion of the world, stronger than Jack Dempsey, able to hit harder than Jack Johnson. I had no idea what the heavyweight champion of the world was, but it certainly didn't make me feel good. He always believed in me, and as years would go by, he'd grab my head as I get bigger and say the same thing.
We have a society that, as a matter of fact, is kind of underlooked. There's the underlying difference. We don't know how important fathers are. For some reason, the judges take us to court and make us pay a lot of money, child support, depending on how much you make. And then, as a rule, if you don't pay, even send us to jail. That's okay for law, but for fatherhood, we need a society that knows how important it is to keep communications and an association with fathers and children. The society is just not ready for it. But it's up to us, men, to get out there and show them how to do it. And this program that I'm associated with today is not about getting money. It's about getting fathers back in touch with their families.
As the father of 10 children, what is the hardest thing you had to learn about being a father?
Hardest thing I had to learn about being a father is that I didn't know it all, that I was going to learn and grow every day. And you know what? When I took that position that I was going to learn something every day, my kids even taught me a few things. And that was hard, to understand that I didn't know it all.
The summit is designed to help fathers learn how to be better parents. There are workshops and sessions on important topics and ways to work within the legal and social services systems.
The purpose is still the same. We're here to help men with issues dealing with their families. Our goal is to strengthen families, and we do that in a number of ways, whether it's through child support, debt reduction, or driver's license reinstate.
Are you seeing the same fathers or different ones?
We're seeing different fathers. There's at least 500 fathers that I spoke to that are here for the first time this year.
Bob Cooper is one of the new fathers who came to give help.
Just get some of those payments down so I can start, better being able to pay more of the child support, because I've been taking care of my son, but she wants me to start paying, to the child support people, and I just want to get everything straight with my ex. So I can, because I'm married now and I got to get everything right.
Don't forget, doesn't matter what condition you're in, you never lose the position of being a father. Fathers are needed. We lost a lot. Matter of fact, the economy, everything, to turn down is a good chance for us, all of us, to reposition ourselves as fathers, knowing that whatever we do, we can do together if we have a father in the family.
What would you suggest to reposition ourselves?
The most important thing to reposition ourselves is for a lot of mothers to forgive us, because a lot of us fathers, we just forgot. We didn't know. We're young, and now we're going to take a lot of forgiveness. And we get that forgiveness in place, hug our children, we can take them the rest of the way.
This year, the 6th Annual Fatherhood Summit will take place on October 7th and 8th at the Destiny Youth Plaza. For more information, call 414-286-5653 or go to the website www.milwaukeefatherhood.com. And that wraps up this edition of Black Nouveau.
Remember, in the coming week, do something to expand your world. Good night.
Good night.